All right, let's just jump right into it. Imagine this for a second. A government benefit, financial help, but with a catch. And it's a huge catch. One so personal, it could literally rewrite your family history. We're talking about a policy that ties money directly to your DNA. Yeah, let that sink in. To get cash to help raise your kid, you have to prove scientifically who the dad is. Sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It's not science fiction. In Jamaica, this is now the new reality. The government there has just made this official policy. And believe me, it's kicking off a massive social experiment that has the whole world watching. Okay, so what is this thing called? It's the Universal Child Care Benefit, or UCCB for short. And it's the first program of its kind, linking money directly to a paternity test. So let's dig into it. We're going to break down exactly what it is, how it's supposed to work, and why everyone's talking about it. So, at its core, the UCCB is pretty straightforward. It's a new government program that gives monthly payments to mothers to help out with childcare. Simple enough, right? But here's that big catch we were talking about. To get the money, a mother has to agree to a DNA test to officially prove who the father is. No test, no cash. It's that simple and, at the same time, incredibly complicated. Okay, so you might be wondering, how does this actually play out in the real world? Well, the government has set up a pretty clear four-step process. Let's walk through it. So step one is easy. A mother applies for the benefit. But step two, whoa, that's the game changer. It's a mandatory DNA test run by the state. Then the results go into this new, very official-sounding database called the National Lineage and Logistics Database. And get this, step four is where it gets really interesting. The state says it may then, and I quote, politely notify the man who's been identified as the father. That choice of words is just fascinating, isn't it? Not demand, not inform, but politely notify. So the big question is, why? Why would a government roll out a policy that's so radical? Let's take a look at their side of the story, their official reasoning. And the way the government talks about this is really telling. They're basically saying the old way of doing things was a mess. They use phrases like chronic ambiguity and funding mystery, which, you got to admit, are pretty strong words. They felt like they were just throwing public money into the dark. But with this new program, they say they're swapping all that uncertainty for accountability, for science, for real clarity. It's a move from, guesswork to genetics. And check out this quote from a senior official. It really sums up their whole argument. They're saying, hey, this is not about punishment. They're framing it as a good thing, for accountability and transparency. And I love this last part, ensuring the child knows exactly who to look like at graduation. That is such a uniquely Jamaican way of saying it's about giving kids a solid sense of who they are and where they come from. All right, so that's the official line from the government, but what the government says and how people on the street actually feel can be two very different things, right? And in Jamaica, the reaction has been, well, it's been fast, it's been passionate, and people are definitely not all on the same page. This one quote from someone in Kingston just captures the feeling perfectly. The money nice, but the questions loud. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? People are like, yeah, the extra cash is great. That's the nice money. But they're also super aware of all the massive social and personal issues this whole thing brings up. The questions are definitely loud. And you can really see that split in public opinion. On one side, you've got the supporters. They're saying, it's about time. This is long overdue. They see it as a way to make things fair and get everyone to share responsibility. But then you've got the critics. And they're raising some serious red flags about things like privacy, what happens to all this DNA data, and, the huge social mess that could happen when family secrets suddenly aren't secret anymore. And this whole thing isn't just a big deal in Jamaica. Oh no. A policy this bold was always going to get noticed. All over the world, leaders, analysts, human rights groups, their eyes are glued to Jamaica right now. It's basically become a global test case. So who exactly has their popcorn out? Well, you've got policy wonks in places like Canada, the UK, and the US all studying how this unfolds. Human rights groups are, of course, asking some tough questions about privacy. But maybe the best summary of how the world sees this comes from a foreign diplomat who called it bold, data-forward, and extremely Jamaican. I think that really captures just how unique and, daring this whole experiment is. So, where do we go from here? Well, this story is definitely not over. Right now, it's all about public consultations. The government is listening to feedback. The next big step is a 6-month pilot program that's going to run in just a few areas. And only after they see how that goes will they even think about rolling this out across the entire country. So what's the takeaway here? What are we to make of Jamaica's DNA mandate? Is it a truly groundbreaking policy that's all about responsibility and using science to make society better? Or is it just a massive, drama-filled Netflix documentary waiting to be made? I guess for now, we'll just have to watch and see.